So, welcome to another episode of Big Risk Energy. I'm your host, Roy Samuel. For those who don't know, I'm a serial entrepreneur, having founded multiple businesses, including one that I scaled and sold to a gaming company in 2018. I've been an angel investor for the last 4 or 5 years now. I'm super passionate about neurodiversity, suffering from severe ADHD and dyslexia myself. And on Big Risk Energy, we talk to an amazing range of people, from academics to actors, investors to entrepreneurs to VCs, musicians, politicians, scientists, and everyone in between. And we talk to these people about risk. Risks they've taken in their lives, risks they've taken in their careers, when those risks pay off and when they don't. And on today's episode, I'm blessed to be joined by the one and only multi-talented Dan Bowyer. Dan's worked in the entertainment industry, he's a serial entrepreneur, having found and sold multiple businesses, and most recently co-founder and partner of Superseed, which is a UK-based VC. Dan, thank you so much for joining.
Lovely to be here.
Dan, there's basically no one in the world I'd rather speak to about risk more than you, because I find your backstory fascinating. You know, you entertainment, then becoming an entrepreneur, now pretty much doing the most risky thing that you can do with money, which is investing into early stage businesses. Where does your relationship with risk come from? You know, how do you feel about risk?
I was broken as a child, so I think everyone's got a story, haven't they? And my story was broken white trash from South London, single, mum, drink and drug addict, dodging the knives and guns to get to school. So it was, actually I'm making it sound a lot more dodgy than it was, but it was pretty dodgy. I was in the arsehole of Croydon, so I don't know if you know South London at all. So
I was part of the gentrification of Brixton.
Where are you, darling?
So
there
the
you
other,
go.
yeah, the other
just
side.
slightly further north.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've never not known some form of kind of edge, either trying to, for example, get to school without being stabbed, or some form of being a little bit earlier than I should have been as a child in circumstances that I probably shouldn't have been in. So I started earning my own money from 12. I used to build paintball guns for a paintball site called Skirmish. I don't know if you... Paintball's not very cool now. Well, actually, paintball's having a bit of resurgence now, but it went through a very not cool phase. But when I was a kid, it was a super cool thing. So this is early 80s, early to mid 80s. So I started at 12, I was earning £5 a day, and I was building and fixing paintball guns for this paintball site. And then from then, I was not very academic. I'm sure I'm on all kinds of mental health spectra. If I was ever... I don't really want to go because they'll just say they'll tick all the boxes and lock me away. So I've never not known anything that's just a little bit weird or edgy. And then when I was at school, I started modelling. So a friend of mine that I was working with at the paintball site said, do you want to do some modelling? It was when young boys were quite trendy. And then I think 5 years later it was very older guys. But then it was young men were very trendy and they were all over magazines and stuff. And I said, I don't think so. I don't think it's really for me. And I dated a girl whose sister's best friend was a super famous Vogue photographer.
Okay.
So I was 16, I was dating this girl and her sister, and they used to knock around with like uber cool North London people.
Yeah.
And then she took me for an audition at Models One, and it was Davina McCall was my agent.
No way.
Yeah.
Of course.
Before she was famous, and she was 24 or something, and I was 16 at this point. And then I got into modelling, and that's a crazy world. And I was doing that in and out of school holidays and after school. And I was earning more money then, you know, odds and sods, than people that had left school at 16 and were working full time. I was in those days earning 5-6 grand a day. So it was like,
wow.
So I had more money than I knew what to do with at 16, 17. And but from that point forwards, there was all this kind of, I can never go and work in a bank. I'm not a regular. I didn't know this, I didn't think this, but looking back, everything was super odd.
And just to jump in, because I'm really fascinated by this. So with where you came from originally, and then making that sort of money, that's obviously a huge contrast to your life growing up. How did you handle that at that age?
Well, you're a young man, so you want to be the big man on campus, and you want to be seen to be having the coolest clothes and doing the coolest things. I've never been cool. I've always wanted to be cool. I knew some very cool... in fact, I walked past somebody's flat in Covent Garden, who's obviously his parents owned it. He was 17, sorry. But I thought he was the coolest dude in the world. He was living in this amazing penthouse just off Neil's Yard. I was like, oh, he's the coolest dude. I've always wanted to be cool, never really been cool. But you just, so you kind of get thrown into these weird and wonderful situations, and you end up here talking with you about venture capital and random shit.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a really, really interesting transition. Now, something which we've discussed before is in order to make it as a founder, the sacrifice, there's, just all the odds stacked against you. It's 1 in 1,000 who make it to unicorn, maybe 1 in 10,000. I don't know the stats around it, but it's similar stats within the entertainment industry as well. Yeah. And you also need to be all in to have any chance of getting that far. So how did that inform your relationship as yourself, as an entrepreneur, as an investor? How do you see it all fixing in with each other?
Well, not being academic and being completely unemployable and being on all kinds of like fizzy mental spectra, you kind of have no choice but to become an entrepreneur. And I've always kind of figured that, most of the people that I love and respect and want to spend time with, all very entrepreneurial and all still don't know what they want to do when they grow up, and they're kicking 50s and 60s. And everyone's just a little bit odd, because you kind of need two sets of people in this world. You need people that are going to do the thing, and then you need people that are going to invent the new thing.
100%.
So I don't think that many entrepreneurs that I know actually chose. I never chose to start businesses. Mm-hmm. I kind of had no choice. Mm-hmm. So it was never I'd like it to be much more of a conscious choice for young people coming through the education system. Entrepreneurship being taught, business being taught, politics, money, all the things that you never learn in school that you should really learn. And entrepreneurship and founding business and how that whole mechanism works should definitely be part of the curriculum. But I never had a choice. It was never a conscious thing. Oh, I'm going to go and set up a business. I don't know how it was for you, but did you? Is that what you always wanted to do, or did it?
So my dad was an entrepreneur, and we were broke.
So you saw it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an interesting one though. I felt I had nothing to lose as well.
Yes.
There was no, I can go into dad's business, I can go work in the bank. There was, in many ways, it's easier when you have no opportunity cost in that way.
If you're in a rich family, then you'll just go and work in the family, and you might dabble over there every now and then, but actually you kind of got your future mapped out.
So it's a really interesting one, because I see this as well, two trends in entrepreneurs, although there are many, and I'm being simplistic here. One is people who are, there's nothing else they can do, right? If they don't make their own money, it's just not going to happen. They can't work for someone else. And there's those who maybe spend 6-7 years in banking. They find an opportunity to iterate on an algorithm. They are more conventional in the way that they've found a problem to solve. Coming from your background, does that ever, not cloud your judgment, but does that ever come into the process of deciding where you're going to invest, either on your own behalf
in the people, you mean?
Yeah.
In the people. I think the other thing that I think is really worth clarifying is that there are entrepreneurs and there are business managers. Possibly the wrong terminology, but there are those that are looking for a new way. They're going to look at a studio like this and then come up with a new format, like a studio subscription, whatever it might be. And there are people that just want to sign write a van and go and sell studio services. But that's not, to me, that's not entrepreneurship. That's running your own business. It's still needed. It's a wonderful thing, but that's not entrepreneurship. Founding a business, to me, in the truest entrepreneur sense, is trying to take something that's a little bit shit and make it better, incrementally, or cosmically. If you look at all of the big tech firms, none of them built their business on doing the same thing. They all took, whatever, Apple took Xerox's products and then added a layer and took this open source code and created this new OS. Or, Microsoft basically built through acquisition, which I think is a bit shit and a bit dry. So take them out of the picture for a minute. But most the entrepreneurs that I want to back are the ones that are either in something or know something, and they're like, this is just wrong. We've got to do this in a new way. And that, to me, is entrepreneurship, not the business management or sign writing the van and going and selling. Even though it's a business and it's yours and it belongs to you, that's not being an entrepreneur.
That's really interesting. And I guess I see that reflected in the thesis of Superseed, which is that business automation piece. How do you help people improve on what they're already doing? Which is interesting because, again, that doesn't strike me as you backing the type of entrepreneurs who maybe have come from a similar background, because in order to see those iterative changes, you need to be in it.
Yes. Yeah. I think the reason that I do what I do on a personal level is because, to me, there's layers of impact. There's layers of making the world a better place for your kids. And I've got two very small kids, a 1 and a 4-year-old now. And that transformed my life. Like coming from being a Tinder boy, bachelor twat and then getting married. So I never thought I would do it. I did it at 46. I started very, very late.
Wow.
Yeah, I played the field, traveled the world, complete idiot. Loved every second of it. But
I was going to say, you make it sound bad.
I loved every dirty second of it. But never thought I'd get married. Never thought I'd have children. Never thought that was for me. I just didn't think it was possible. And I'm digressing. What were we talking about? What were we talking about? Bring me back.
So we were talking about the types
a rabbit hole over there.
No, the levels of
The type of people, isn't it?
yeah, exactly, and there was different levels to the work that you do. And
Yeah.
how you're trying to impact
So
people.
I do what I do because the way that I can have it, and I've only ever known, built, or invested in B2B business software. It's all I've ever known and done for 3 years. So I'm obviously doing what I know, because if I went and decided to do B2C, or I wouldn't have any basis of understanding. But my thesis is based around the fact that if you can, like this pair of jeans might cost, I don't know, whatever, 50 quid, and it will take 400 litres of water, it will take this much cloth, and it will take this many resources. So to me, how I can create impact with my history is enabling this pair of jeans to only take 20 litres of water. One person, not 5. This size of office, that much denim. And if you can, I'm using a shit analogy, but if you can create efficiency in the back office of these really difficult, repetitive task businesses, that to me is impact. Yes, you want to save all the babies. Yes, you want to solve climate change. Yes, you want to sort food, water, whatever it might be. But unless you can make the thing that we do, all we're doing all day is consuming stuff. Coffees, water glasses, cameras, hoodies. Unless we can get behind the stuff that we need to do on a daily basis, unless we can really transform that, we can't keep any of the other promises to anything.
That's really, really interesting. And
So that's why.
And I mean, and arguably the most effective way of making change is altering the mode of operation of the incumbents, right?
It can only really be done through business. You can look at, obviously regulation plays a massive hand. Again, I'm rabbit holing a bit. So government, love or hate, and they're mostly useless. But mostly that's our fault for the system.
We have a part to play in this, yeah.
And the electoral system that we have and that we allow. That side, we still need a form of regulation, because we're greedy and stupid humans, aren't we? We're a bit nasty when we're up against it. And look at my industry. Venture is a classic asshole move most of the time, like 3-minute grocery deliveries and faster e-scooters. Who gives a fuck? I don't. Have you ever invested in any of those? Sorry.
Not my bag.
But I understand the greed part, where if you can see this happening in crypto or e-scooters or faster, I can understand you want to FOMO that up. And if I've just invested $10, I know that some mug is going to come in at 50. I hate that. I think that's rude. So you kind of get stuck where you're stuck, and you do what you do. But I think I bet with you, it's not just like a snap decision. It's like lots of little paths in the road that get you to where you are and who you are and what you do.
Yeah, of course. And the stage at which I invest in a company, you know, there's nothing to go by in terms of due diligence other than, do I like this person?
Yeah.
Do I want to talk to them again? Do I trust them?
Yeah.
You know, beyond that, there's very
Well, you've got to
little that
believe
you
in
can
the
do.
thing. You've got to believe that the thing's going to change a thing, don't you? You've got to look at it and go, I believe you can do that. And I
Yeah.
believe that they want that.
Or for me, it's actually more, I believe this person can do something within or around that.
Yes.
Because I'm an SCIS, EAS investor at the earliest stage, right?
Yes.
Very rarely is the initial deck I see the end output.
No, of course, it
right?
never
So
is.
it's,
Never
but
is.
that's why it's the
all
the
people.
founder
It's all
problem
people.
fit, right?
Yeah,
the
yeah,
founder
yeah.
problem fit. Does that person care about this space? Are they going to see it through to whatever it might be?
Yeah, because it's hard.
Yeah, exactly.
It's painful. I mean, I remember my first business, we sat there with my business partner. It was an IT services business, and we sat there and we painted the office, we bought all the computers, we'd hired the space, we got all the desks, and then we sat there and what the fuck do we do now? And then the sheer fear of, how are we going to pay the bills? I mean, I had some money, but then how are we going to get new clients? And how are we, and then learning how to spin those 20 plates. And then being punched in the face constantly. Thinking the precept being that you're your own boss, you can work your own hours, you can do your own thing, you're the master of your own destiny. And all of that is a flat lie. You've got more bosses than you ever thought you had. And
Absolutely.
more responsibilities than you could ever wish for.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a baptism of fire. And I think everyone should go through it.
Yeah, totally. I also think it's a really great way, and I say this to friends of mine who have got younger siblings who are coming out of university, Start your own thing for a year where you have to do a bit of everything.
Go and sell first. Go and sell somebody else's shit first. Go and sell something that you hate.
Interesting.
Start there. Find the least pleasant sales job that you can. I was going to say in the press, never in the paper, online, on whatever it is these days, and go and work there. Do 6 months of selling double glazing.
Yeah.
That will set you up for life.
So this is getting to something we were just discussing before, which is sales. And you haven't been in the entertainment industry. I did stand up for 18 months. It's something I'm so passionate about. And the feeling you have when you're pitching a room of VCs and they're eating out your palm is the same feeling you get when you're crushing whilst doing a set. And when you bomb in front of a VC, it's a very similar feeling to bombing at the Comedy Store or whatever it is. So how much does narrative, showmanship versus the numbers come into this? Where do you see the balance?
In early stage, I'm sure I don't need to share this with you, you'll know this in spades. In early stage, the only thing you have is narrative. The only thing you have is your ability to sell to your team, to your potential clients, to your existing clients, to your bankers, to your investors. The only thing you have is your ability to stand up and go, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going, it's going to be awesome. Who's on the Roy truck? And that's it. That's all you have. And then you start to build the data, and then you start to build the spreadsheet side. But that takes many, many years. Every business I've ever started, it's always taken me, in the third year, it's when the penny started to drop. The sales function has started to click, the repeatable piece. The who we hire and how we hire started to drop. The client, the ICP. But it for me, and I'm possibly an incredibly slow learner, it's always taken that into that third year when it goes, bloop, bloop, bloop. I go, oh, that's how this shit works in this industry. It's always taken that long. But I think it's... I
mean, it's a really good point, because I think a lot of early stage, first time founders, you talk to them about exit, it's, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 7 years. It's never that. Right? No. It's very, very rarely that. And I think that people are putting pressure on themselves to have that figured out, have that data piece figured out within year one, where I just think you're chasing up the wrong tree totally. Because it does take that time to click. And realistically, the time horizon for an exit is normally 10 years.
Don't even think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you might, some investors might push you to think like that because that gives you the contextual lens. And I kind of buy that. If you have that contextual lens, which is, I mean, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, do you want a lifestyle business or do you want a scale business? And founders often get confused between growth and scale. So if you want a lifestyle business, it kind of puts you back in that business manager part, the sign writing and driving the van around. But that's absolutely fine. I spoke to a chap yesterday who's got a wonderful business, effectively joining the dots for car dealerships between buying a car and car delivery. But I said, I think this is actually, don't raise from me or anyone. I don't think this is venture backable. Don't raise from anybody. You can build this up. You can maybe get some debt in while money's still a little bit cheap. And not too much, but just enough to keep your bum squeaking, but give you enough to pay the bills. And then just build a really tidy lifestyle business out of this, couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 mil, and then just sell. Somebody will buy this. You know, Pendies or one of the networks will buy this. So do that. So I think it depends, on what you want. But I don't know where I was going with that as well. Well, I'm rabbit holing all over the show.
Well, you get to an interesting point, and one of the things that I always love about your content on LinkedIn is trying to demystify a lot of VC.
Yeah.
And you talk about this isn't venture backable.
Yeah.
Now, this is something I talk to young entrepreneurs about the whole time, where they're talking about 25% market penetration, taking them to 100K ARR, and I'm like, great, you might have something you can bootstrap and something which you could put through a micro acquisition, something like that, but it's not venture backable. So when you started demystifying VC, did you see risk in that with the way that your LPs would see you, other VCs would see you?
It's a big thing. As soon as you are open, because venture is all about secrets.
Yeah.
So as soon as you're open, which I've actively chosen to do, people judge you, and you get judged for doing podcasts, right? I mean, I want to be out there and sharing things, and people might think I'm an arsehole or a dickhead. That's fine. I try not to be, but I can't always say that I'm not. But I think so I made a conscious choice, much to sometimes my business partner's irritation, because he's the opposite of me, which is why we work so well together, to share, to explain, having spent 20 plus years on that side of the desk and this side for 4, I had my eyes opened by what I thought venture was and what it actually is. So I'm on a mission, sounds cheeseball, but just to every, like the shitty conversations I had this morning that I was sharing, two really difficult conversations. One about putting a term sheet, which I've done a very small handful of times. It's horrific. When you've worked with a founding team, you have to pull a term sheet. It's the most, it's
the worst part of the job.
Oh my God, my heart's, part of the reason that I'm rabbit holing and I can't focus is because my heart is still racing, that I feel it's just awful. And then with a chap that I've been working with for a long time, and I basically told him he wasn't doing a good enough job, and he unleashed on me. So, but I'm going to share those stories because I think it's really important to share all of the backstory of how venture is built, how founders should either raise or not raise if they're not venture backable, how they should think about that, the processes that go on behind the scenes, the egomania that goes on behind the scenes. So I think our world, the startup ecosystem world, will be better because of it. That's the intent. How that comes across doesn't always work and doesn't always land. Fine, you practice, and we practice podcasts and writing and narrating, and we get better over time. You're not going to wake up and be Ernest Hemingway, right? It's going to take some time. But it's true. I mean, a lot of the companies that I say to them, don't take money from me. Do not raise.
Yeah.
Do not take money from me, and do not raise. But then I'll say, consider this instead, and we'll put a structure together that might be a little bit of debt, or this angel, or this structure, or this accelerator, and think about it in this way. I'm not always right, but venture is certainly not right for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I get most excited for an entrepreneur when they've got something and they don't need to raise for it. I'm like, I wish I was doing what you're doing right now, because you can bootstrap this, you can probably take this to a couple million ARR and walk home in a great situation yourself without having to sell your soul and all that. I mean, sometimes those are the best businesses. And I think there's becoming a new appreciation of that again with the bigger importance on better fundamentals and unit economics, interesting potential exit routes like micro-acquire and other platforms coming out that way. And I think that's a really, really exciting time.
And loads of different ways to get money.
Yeah.
And there's loads of new vehicles coming through, like Valban creating these little SPVs and these little vehicles, so anybody can be a fund manager. Anybody can syndicate around for stuff. The debt vehicles that are coming in on the like the pipes and the what's Jamie's outfit called? But anyway, the way that you can basically, if you've got like 20, 30, 40, great. So then you can start to get some performance-based debt. The secondaries market that's opening up. So if you are stuck in a business and you want to go and buy that house, you might want to sell a couple of % just to get a couple of $100,000 to go and buy the house for the family. So that whole finance piece around our ecosystem is opening and bolstering, and more will happen now as the world takes a shit. And inflation does this, and interest rates does that. So there's going to be more of these vehicles coming through, like you say, with a focus on the fundamentals of at any point, can this be a profitable business?
Totally.
If it can't be, and it is just growth at all costs, then
And when you do have these non-dilutive funding options, which are based on better principles, the pipes, Stripe Capital, whatever it might be, that path to growth is much more feasible than the flavor that we had if it was Q-commerce, whatever it might be, a couple of years ago. So I think it's really, really great. But one thing which I personally worry about within the European VC market is obviously LPs who are not used to what's going on right now and seeing venture as the asset class that never fails to return. Although there's a lot of dry powder still out there, do you fear for the next fund cycles?
Totally. You're spot on. So, but there's a lot of money out there now. I hate the term dry powder. Makes me itch. Like if somebody uses a phrase. Like fucking.
We'll circle back to it later, don't worry.
Anyway, so I think there's a lot of money baked into the system. What we're seeing as a seed investor, so I only do a little bit of pre and then whatever pre and seed mean, but live product market fit is the space that I work in. The later stage guys that we then hand over to they're expecting bigger numbers, they're investing a little bit more, and it's taking a little bit longer. So the 1 million ARR, you're now Series A, go and raise, is now 2 million. The time to close that round from like 3 months is now nearer 6 months. It won't last long because, like with the COVID shock, and everyone sat on their hands, went, what do we do now? That only lasted a couple of months. We go, oh, this is the new world, and off we go. So the shock that we're going through now, I think will be a bit more protracted. It won't be a mega shock.
You don't think so?
No, because there's so much money out there. We have to invest. If we don't do deals, and there's so many deals around to be done, and all of the tourist cash has disappeared. So all of the mid-stage growth stuff is all, hidden, gone back behind the bushes. So there's a lot more funds coming slightly earlier. There are more niche funds coming in, which is great. So if you want to do wind turbines in Norway funded with this, there's a fund that will do that. There's saving all the brown babies. There's fixing climate change. There's all these, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And with all these other vehicles that aren't necessarily fund based, but other kinds of finance vehicles. That's a great thing. It's a great thing.
Really interesting view. One thing I want to go back to
Sure.
in terms of risk and LPs rather than just in the VC community. You're outspoken on LinkedIn. You know, you're not afraid to say what you're thinking. Ever worried about the risk that has with LPs?
Yeah,
and have you seen that impact at all?
I don't know is the short answer. Yeah, I'm being judged. It's an active choice. I believe in standing for something, otherwise you stand for nothing. And I'm hopefully turning on as many people as I'm turning off.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to be doing more of this, but I know that there are LPs that will not like me or my style. They will love my business partner who's the complete opposite to me, which is why we work so well and why I
You
love
know
him
who
so
to
much.
wheel out depending on the...
So if it's more of a heart thing, I get wheeled out. If it's more of a cerebral head data conversation, Mads gets wheeled out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not quite that binary, but yeah.
Sure.
I think everyone buys with their heart, but you need the head to back it up. So
Absolutely.
we kind of go, do I like this? Do I like this room? Do I like this house? Do I want to buy this car? Do I want to invest in this founder? That's a gut feeling. That's a heart and gut, right? But you need the data to then go, is there a market?
Well, it's justification, right?
It is.
That's how I see it.
is.
It's like, I like this person. I want to believe in this person. Just tell me the numbers make sense. I can justify it to myself.
Yes.
You know, I mean, but I'm a very emotional person. That's not
I think
necessarily...
most angels are. I am as a VC, and that doesn't always serve me well. In fact, it doesn't serve me well at all. But I can't. I'm 50 years old. I can't change that.
Yeah.
But the risk piece, I do know that I sometimes piss people off, and I am being judged for the opinions that I have, because our industry, like I was saying, is all about secrets. It's all about that proprietary deal flow, understanding this in a very secretive, and that's not about sharing. And I want to share those things. But like I say, the world, there's what I want, and my fund will still be successful. And we have to show a new way. We can't just do these. Venture capital cannot behave like it's behaved for the last 12 years. It can't be. I won't have it. I can't be part of that. And
I think we're seeing a really positive impact of the proliferation of information, things that you're doing on LinkedIn, on TikTok, I think is absolutely changing the world for young entrepreneurs. The amount of Gen Z founders we speak to who are just starting to become more au fait with the terminology, understanding power or whatever it might be, understanding things which are allowing them to have more meaningful conversations and get involved, which can only be a positive thing.
No, absolutely. And it just naturally kind of rises the tide for everyone to understand what entrepreneurship is and what founding is and what raising money is and what building a business, because you kind of get exposed to so much. I don't remember when I was a kid, anybody talking about being an entrepreneur or starting a business. It was all, where are you going to work? And my careers advisory printout from the computer at school said I would be an architect or a prison guard. I don't know how I got to those two. So I then I did my work experience at Ove Arabs, which is like a big kind of, I've forgotten what they're called. You know, the companies that make roads and bridges.
Okay,
and
right.
whatever they are. I thought, I'm not going to spend another 7 years at school. There's too many girls and too much beer out there. Like, what's all this about?
Well, there you go. Right, so Dan, I've got 4 questions that I ask everyone who comes on the show.
Okay.
Not quick fire, we can just go through these. Biggest risk you've taken in your career or life, and what was the outcome?
I've never not taken risks. So I see that question the other way around. It's only since finding the most incredible woman to marry who can deal with my shit and having the 2 most wonderful creatures come into my life, my kids. So it's only now that I see the world the other way around, which is I stopped riding motorbikes to take that risk out of my life. I've stopped doing the other risky behavior. I quit booze and all the other substances. So I've only ever taken every opportunity and always said yes to everything that's ever come my way because I don't give a shit. And now I've got things to lose. And when I got past 40, it was almost a revelation. It's like, oh, I thought I'd be dead by now. I'm going to be here for a bit. Oh, I better pay attention. I better eat the right food. I better hunker down and be a bit more serious. So I don't see risk in the same way I think than what you mean or how other people
Interesting.
perceive it. So I've always taken risks. I've never cared about the outcome. I'm about the experience. Most of the things that I've done have failed. I'm a lucky idiot. So I've been on stage to hundreds of thousands of people. I've been almost famous. I've been extremely wealthy. I've been in massive amounts of debt, and I don't really care. I just care about the experience of trying. I've lived on 4 continents, just flown first class around the world. I get as much pleasure buying. I've had all the Ferraris and I love cars. I get as much pleasure buying a £500 shit box as I do, or as I did, buying the Ferrari or the Porsche or the TVR or whatever. So I just like the experience. I'm sorry, I'm waffling.
No. That's a really, really amazing answer. And, it's so funny because everyone we've had, this is the, I think, 3rd or 4th episode we've done. Everyone has such different perspectives on this.
That's the point of the podcast, right?
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean,
if we all said the same
I'm
thing.
not trying to get to a conclusive answer, yeah. But it's really interesting to hear you talk about experience because I think, that ultimately defines so much. And for so many people, when they are getting into that journey, it is for the experiences along the way. Very few people I've met who are successful are money oriented. It might come, it might go.
But what's your definition of success?
Well, actually, that's one of the questions I'm going to ask you. So we'll come back to that one in a minute. Well, let's go to that one. What does it take to be successful?
Boy, it depends. I think the challenge we have is that a lot of people I work with now who are half my age or younger think that success is financially driven and so it's financially focused. And I can tell them now and I can say to their face, I've been exceptionally wealthy. I'm not independently wealthy, but on the trajectory, and I've lost it all twice. And I can tell you now that I was as miserable and as depressed and as troubled when I had millions in the bank as I was when I had minus hundreds of thousands in the bank and bailiffs knocking at my door. That's true misery. When you're in serious debt and you like I've got heart palpitations now about the conversation I had this morning. When you have that based on debt, that's something that is depressive and it drags you, and that really pulls you down.
When Real Sport, my last company, was acquired, I had Wonga loans, I had Quick, I had Amigos. I was it was the swing on that time of potential successful acquisition versus payday loan
and you
companies.
have to put the shiny, the amount of times I have to put the shiny face on. Everything's fine, nothing to see here, and you've got like 15 people who can't pay their mortgages because of you. And the whole thing, but then that's the risk piece. But success, the only thing the measure of success for me is waking up every morning, which is when your brain is in its purest form. The bullshit engine hasn't kicked in yet. You haven't styled stuff out about the debt or the relationship or the job. When you're your purest form, first moment you wake up, if you can feel a sense of peace and gratitude at that moment in the day, that is my measure of success, and that's it.
Interesting. And is that
probably not the answer you want?
No. It's a really good one.
It's millions and successful businesses in a VC fund. No, it's not. It really fucking isn't.
I always say to founders, if you're getting into this to be a billionaire, do something else.
Yeah, go and do property.
Exactly.
I started property developing in the mid-90s. I made a shit ton of money by pure accident. I got out in 2002 thinking that I was the master of the universe and that I'd conquered the world, and the market just went doot, 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 doot. So if you want to get rich, get into property. Actually, mate,
it's not the asset class it used to be, but still it's bricks and mortar, and there's
I wouldn't want to rent anymore. Renting is, and now that it's just that's a misery. Anyway.
Yes. Anyway. So I've got 2 more questions for you. One is, what's the thing that you're proudest of?
Just my kids. Just love them. My wife is just an incredible person. My family life, my kids. It's a dull shit answer, but I don't care about anything else.
It's a great answer then.
I genuinely, I want my fund to be incredibly successful. I love the people that I work with. I think we're doing interesting things. Am I proud of that? Yes. What I've achieved, what I've done, or the experience, I'm proud. Am I proud? No, not really. They're just my kids. I would live and die for them. Kill and die every day of the week. That's it.
It's an amazing answer, and something I always think about when, I don't have kids right now. I've been
Do
with
it.
my partner for 4 years.
Do it.
Yeah, not yet though, because
Why?
because of what you just said. Because
There's no right time.
there's never a right time, but there's probably more ideal timing than less ideal timing. The thing is, once you have the kids, as you just said, kill or die, right? I know that. As soon as I have kids, like that's me. That's everything. I don't feel like I'm still founder. I'm still, managing, hiring 60 people, everything else. I'm still on that part of the journey.
Okay.
So for me, it's,
There will never be a right time, just for the record, just to put on the table there. You will never feel
Okay.
like there's a right time.
Okay.
And men generally don't. Women generally have a biological clock that says, listen, come on, right, we need to get a go on. But there's no right time.
Yeah.
Just get on with it.
Yeah. Well, my girlfriend is 26. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Enjoy that.
And then last question is, there might not be, but is there anything that sticks out to you which, that decision or that, I would have done that differently? Any words of wisdom, things you'd have done differently?
There's two things, and everyone says never have any regrets. I was kids TV presenting in my early 20s. So I was in a band for 4 years, randomly got into a band, and I've got no musical talent whatsoever. And it was relatively successful and really successful in Europe and in the Far East. But
Wow.
I mean, in the UK, I think we had 5 top 40 singles and 1 top 20 album, something like that. So
That's cool.
Not like known, but
Yeah.
relatively successful, and made some money from it, which I then had to give back. Anyway, I really enjoyed kids TV presenting, and I kind of let it pass me by. I wasn't good at it, but I was getting good at it. I've been doing it a year, 18 months, and then this trend for kind of cool, funky, ginger comedians came in, and I was the Philip Schofield boy next door. Hello, I'm Dan, and da da da. So I wasn't cool or trendy, and I wasn't good at it, so I couldn't get away with it or force it through because I was good at the skill. It's a real skill. Talking to an inanimate object like it's a human being when you watch like a newscaster or something is a real skill. It takes time. When you watch a new TV presenter, they look awkward and you can see them they blink slowly. It's a real skill to be able to do that when somebody's talking in your ear and do it well. I nearly got good at it and I let it go. So no regrets, but if I could go back in time, I wish I'd spent more time on the craft and explored that further, because I think that would have been really interesting. That said, I hated being in the public eye. I hated being Z grade celebrity famous. It's miserable. When you don't have the money to buy your own reclusivity, and there are people camping outside your mum's house, and everyone in the street has an opinion on me. And I was dating somebody who was quite famous at the time. And so everyone had an opinion on our relationship. Everyone had an opinion on me. It's like, you don't even fucking know me. And that's what celebrities get. They've played a character on TV or in a movie, and you think that they're of a certain type or ilk. And that's the other thing. Never meet your heroes. I met most of mine, and most of them are dickheads. But anyway, so I would have liked to have paid more attention, I think, to that. And the other thing, which might be more relevant to founders in the startup ecosystem, is because I'm all about experiences, I wish in my younger days I'd also focused on outcome. So the problem that you have with being focused on experience, as I've experienced, no pun intended, is that because I've never really cared whether it's created wealth or success. I've just gone, and sometimes it has and sometimes it hasn't. Had I been a little bit more outcome driven, I would have been able to do things smarter and build bigger businesses and been smarter about it. Because I don't care about businesses when you just put more coins in the top and more coins fall out the bottom. I lose interest. So as soon as a startup becomes operational, I kind of go, I don't care anymore, which is great because I'm C to A, right?
Yeah.
That's my world.
Sweet spot.
That's what I do. But I'd like to have, in my mid-early 20s, just paid a little bit more attention to outcome and money and legal and structure, just so that I balance that with this go fuck it experiential. But that has taken me around the world, and I've done some amazing things because I've lived like that. But I think I could have potentially balanced it a bit better.
That's great. I'm going to add one last question. We normally just do 4, but I don't know why this conversation got me thinking about a 5th, which I'm going to start asking everyone from here on out.
Do it.
If you could say one thing to yourself as a 16-year-old right now, could be anything, could be that week's, lottery number, whatever it is, what would you tell 16-year-old Dan?
I think it's slightly cheeseball, but just believe in yourself. But really, genuinely believe in yourself. And it's that old phrase, feel the fear and do it, which I live by, because I live in a constant state of fear and anxiety. And I've always done things, and I've always felt, the heart palpitations about bad conversations, whatever it might be. So on one hand, I'm kind of good at this, but I wish I just believed in myself from a younger age. Just go for it. Just believe in yourself, because nobody has the answer. Everyone's a dickhead. Everyone judges. Everyone has opinions. It doesn't matter. It fucking doesn't matter. Just get up off the sofa and go and try the thing. Poke the bear. Learn the craft. Do the thing. And just believe. And just with a smile. Just do it constantly with a smile. And just keep rolling through. If you fail, you pick yourself up and you walk. But I lived in so much fear. It looks like I did all these wild and wonderful things, which I did. But I could have done more. I could have had more experiences. And I think if you just believe, if Donald Trump can be the president of the free world, anybody can fucking do anything.
Absolutely.
And what a moron.
Absolutely that. Absolutely. Dan, anything that you want to plug before we end?
No, not plugging anything. Just lovely to meet you. Lovely to see you. What a pleasure.
Awesome. Dan, thank you so much.